Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Seeing Blind. This is our second episode for this season of Tuesdays Blind Community Chats. And of course, it's not just for the blind community, right? This is for everyone, our supporters, anyone in the disability community and our allies. Today, I have such an exciting discussion. I can't wait to share it with you guys because we're going to be kind of stepping outside the box just a wee bit, but it all ties in together, and I can't wait to share my guest and all of her goody information today. But real quick, remember guys, if you haven't hit subscribe or the notification bell, go ahead and take a few seconds to do that now. That's how you're going to get the notifications and kind of get in on the loop as far as when we go live, because you know me, I have kids, and my schedule's never the same from week to week. Sometimes I can keep on schedule, sometimes I can't. And also my job can sometimes interfere. If I take a contract, that's going to take precedence because it's making me money and this isn't. So that's where my priorities are, right? But I love contributing tips, hacks, discussions like these to all of my content. And so make sure that you hit subscribe, and you can check out the description box, guys, for all the information on my guest today, as well as any information related to Seeing Blind and future content episodes on Blind Community Chat. So let's see, hopefully everybody is doing good. I'm just giving everyone a minute or two to get those notifications, people who have already hit that subscribe button. And I would love to invite everyone to hit that chat button over there. If you're live with us, say hello, tell me where you're from, what's going on, how are you doing? And I'm going to turn on my screen reader so that I can see everyone's chat. And again, I apologize if my screen reader kind of frustrates or bothers anybody, but hopefully, if it does, hopefully you guys can tune it out. Marcy Granger, HDI, 3 hands with mediums. Marcy, hello, Marcy Granger. Good to see ya, hear ya again. Welcome. Marcy Granger, HDI, 3 hands with mediums, in-tone acceleration. All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to my guest and let her introduce herself and tell us, Melanie, all your socials, your business, and what you specialize in, and all the good stuff that you want everyone to know about you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Melanie, and I am most recently now known as the Imposter Syndrome Coach. I help ADHD and other neurodivergent women, entrepreneurs, LGBTQ+, anybody that's not just a cis white man. I help you overcome all of the obstacles that you have in your mindset that are holding you back from your biggest successes. As the person who suffers, I won't even say suffer. I am ADHD, autistic, PMDD, RSD. I think I have all of the acronyms that you could possibly have when it comes to neurodivergence, other than OCD. I don't have that one. So I really help people understand the way that their brain works, how it affects them and their energy, and how they can optimize their life and business with systems, right? So I really help you take your goals and turn them into realities, whether you are a business owner, a brand owner, an entrepreneur, or just a high achieving, ambitious woman. So that is what I'm here for. I also suffer from auditory processing issues, and I am about 90% deaf in one of my ears. So when it comes to being an ally and part of any sort of disabled community, I am so happy to be here with you and learn more so that I can help you really accommodate your neurodivergence along with the other challenges that you face.
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah. So I've been noticing a lot, especially in the blind community and within the disabled community as a whole, that a lot of the times our larger or perceived larger diagnoses, any kind of sensory impairments, anything like that, seem to overshadow other diagnoses such as ADHD. It's like they take a back seat. But then you run the risk of them getting neglected, and you don't end up forming those proper management skills and adaptation skills, and you start to just manage one instead of everything, all the diagnoses. And that's the pitfall that I myself fell in. And I know a lot of others that I've spoken to the last 6 months or so that have also really kind of related to that. They found that whatever other issues they have took a back seat to other primary diagnoses. And that led to more struggles in the future, in their experience, because it allowed that secondary diagnosis to kind of spiral out of control. And they couldn't figure out, well, for example, in my case, I kept thinking, I'm managing my blindness. Why is my life still so out of control? Why do I still feel like I am just not living my best life at times? And it was because I was neglecting figuring out what was going on with my ADHD and how that was triggering and impacting my blindness, and how they all go hand in hand. So today, that's what I wanted to kind of discuss, talk about some of the common struggles, specifically with ADHD, neurodivergence, and similar. I know you threw out a lot of those acronyms and stuff. I too have RSD. And for those who, if you do not know what any of these acronyms are, you are welcome to comment down below, ask us, or ask us in the live chat, and we will do our best to tell you what those are and explain them. For example, RSD is rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and that's just basically where I myself, anytime, specifically a loved one, anyone's really, really close to me, I am hypersensitive to their criticisms, to any kind of correction or anything like that. It sets me off, and I am typically, my husband says I emotionally overreact, and that's it. That's the thing. I can't emotionally regulate at times when I'm first, perceiving these little, that he doesn't mean anything by it, little corrections or criticisms, or, hey, honey, I'd rather you do this instead of that. I just kind of overly emotionally react because I cannot regulate in that moment, and I have to have extra time to process that. So I'm extra sensitive, and so that's what RSD is. It's very, very common and associated with ADHD and some other neurodivergent type of things. So we're going to dive into some of these things, but just know a lot of the stuff that we're going to speak to today, if these are not your specific bag of diagnoses, that's okay, because a lot of this stuff I really truly feel like is going to cross over, and we're all going to be able to relate and find common ground no matter what combination of things you're dealing with in your life. So let's speak about, Melanie, if you don't mind, some common struggles and problems that a lot of people with ADHD or neurodivergence, or just this kind of bag of acronyms out there that are pretty common and tend to go underrated as far as the bigger picture of diagnoses. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So what we're talking about are the ADHD comorbidities. These are diagnoses that exist unto themselves. So if you treat the ADHD, this is still an issue and is not treated by a medicine, by anything like that. So to simplify rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and I think it's very important that we focus on the words that we use, and I would never qualify you or anybody else who deals with rejection sensitive dysphoria as overly sensitive or emotionally reactive. No. Absolutely not. We are allowed our responses, and then we must figure out if we're going to give that any energy, if it is rational, if it makes any sense. Because like Judge Judy says, if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not true. So you mentioned your husband. I have been married for 9 million years. We got married in November of 2006. So whatever the math is on that one, I'll figure it out when we're getting close. My husband is very direct. I am also very direct.
My husband is too. I am not.
And I am very direct. However, I am also I don't ever want anybody to feel bad, right? So when I call my husband and he doesn't answer, and then I call my best friend and she doesn't answer, first thought in my brain is they both hate me and they're never going to talk to me again. He's probably drawing up the divorce papers right now. And then I have to say, okay, is this rational?
Yes.
Does this make sense? No. So there's a big breakdown that we have to look at between your brain chemistry as a neurodivergent person and your mindset as a neurodivergent person. I have been working on my mindset, my energy, everything that you could possibly improve for numerous years now.
Yeah.
I understand that my first knee-jerk reaction is going to be they hate me, it's over, cool. What I do with that is the difference, right? So instead of allowing that to run and getting into a negative thought loop, getting into a ruminating thought loop, worrying about the worst, right? We can really say, oh God, he was probably dead. Probably got into a car accident. He's probably dead. That's why he didn't answer, right? It's not true. That's where your brain wants to go. We have to understand with a neurodivergent brain, it moves fast. It goes through data much quicker than a neurotypical brain. So when it runs out of good things to think about, it's going to go negative.
Yeah.
Now, we understand that's not going to change. Your initial knee-jerk reaction is not going to change. What you do with that reaction and how much energy you give it, that's what you can change. So if your husband does know, and my husband knows that I can be very, I can take what he says to heart. We had a little snippet over the weekend where he was very tired. He did a lot. He did like a 5K. I didn't even know he was doing a 5K. He said, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm doing a 5K. I said, what? So I knew he was going to be real tired on Saturday, right? He did a lot. He volunteered at a baseball game on Friday night. Then Saturday morning he did a 5K. He's really an amazing human. So I knew he was going to be tired on Saturday. I knew he was going to need a nap, and I knew I needed to stay away from him and stop bothering this poor man. Let the man sleep.
Yeah.
So when he got up from his nap, and I was like, oh, do you still want to go out? Do you still want da? He just looked at me and goes, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. He simply meant, honey, I'm just waking up. Can you give me a minute to really just, he's not a morning person like me. But instead, the words that he used, I internalized, because in my brain, the first thing I think is I would never talk to you like that.
Yeah.
So I internalized it for the whole day, and then we had to talk about it while we were out. I said, okay, are you going to be nice now? And he said, I don't even know what you're talking about. You've been rude all afternoon. I said, only because of what you said. And we had to sit there and talk about it. He goes, I don't even remember saying that to you. I said, well, you did, and it hurt my feelings. And I would never talk to you like that. So it's these things, these give and takes of people have to be aware of the words that they use and how they're going to affect others, whether you count yourself as sensitive or not.
Right.
We expect reciprocation. If I'm not going to talk to you that way, I don't expect you to talk to me that way.
And I think that boils down to just communication skills. And I think a lot of the times, no matter which diagnosis or what disability or what issue, condition, or anything that you're managing, whatever's on the table, communication is so key no matter what, because you can have, like I said, any of these acronyms or any diagnosis, condition out of the bag. If you can't communicate when your feelings are hurt, when you're offended, when you need something, when you are like extra sensitive, or hey, I'm having a bad disability day, or hey, I'm having a bad brain day, or whatever the case may be, I feel like being able to communicate that, especially to the other members in the household and our loved ones, is so vital. If you don't have that communication, then how are the relationships going to maintain? It's kind of like a systemic thing. Like if you don't hold up your management, if you don't hold up your communication, then ultimately your relationships will fall.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you should mention that, because what people forget, or what people don't understand about ADHD, autism, anything neurodivergent, is that we're very cyclical, yet our energy levels are unpredictable, right? So you're going to have cycles of high energy days and low energy days. It's why a lot of us get misdiagnosed. Because your energy is directly related to the amount of dopamine, norepinephrine, and a little bit of, what's the one that feels good? Serotonin, that one. So those three chemicals in your brain have to work together to get you to start or finish a task.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're having a low energy day, you do not have enough of those chemicals in your brain. So the vacuuming, no, not going to happen.
Right.
The making a big fancy meal, not going to happen. Going out and making good on those plans that you had with those friends that you made when you were super high energy, not going to happen. I have literally texted clients and said, hey, I'm not even going to be able to give you 50% today. So let's reschedule.
Yeah. And that's, I think the beauty about speaking and forming communities that get it, because working with people and communicating and building relationships with others that get it, understand, and they have absolutely no problem, when you say that, they're like, oh, I totally understand what you mean. Yes, let's reschedule, because they get it. And there's times when, though my husband and I, we have a wonderful relationship, we love each other very, very deeply, there's things like that he doesn't get. He doesn't understand as much as he tries. But it's like, well, what do you mean? Didn't you get sleep? Well, yeah, I got sleep, but sometimes that has not a daggone thing to do about it. I mean, you have to kind of go to your peoples who have lived it, who love it, who live it every day and get it. You know what I mean? And I feel that's the beauty about, you in your practice and your coaching and your business. You've lived it. You have learned how to manage it and deal with it. But yet everyone, like you said, everyone we're allowed to have these days. We're allowed to feel this way. And if we need to reschedule, we can. And that's almost like you practicing what you're preaching too, because how can you tell someone you're allowed that if they don't see you holding yourself to that example too? If that makes
100%. I've gotten off of a TikTok live before because I was so cranky and I was so overstimulated, underappreciated. I don't even know but it was a low energy day and I was trying to push through, and I just said, you know what, guys, I gotta go. I'm not gonna be happy. I'm not gonna be nice. Nothing good's gonna come from this. So you all have a great rest of your day. I'm gonna go sit on the couch.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of the spoonies, if you will.
The spoon theory is so vital for anyone to understand what it is like to have any physical or mental, neurological disability, challenge, anything like that.
Yes. If anyone is not yet familiar, I mean, I feel like everyone has heard of the spoon theory and either relate and call themselves spoonies or not. But if you don't know, do you want to explain, Melanie? Or I don't mind explaining it. It's totally up to you.
It's the theory that everybody has a finite amount of energy. We have a certain number of spoons per day. And if you're challenged by an autoimmune disorder, if you're challenged by ADHD or autism, we have to use spoons for everything that a neurodivergent or a neurotypical or a non-disabled person doesn't even think about. For example, showers. ADHD people are known to neglect their personal hygiene for no other reason than the shower is so many steps. It's a sensory nightmare. If it's cold out, then that means you're going to get cold when you get out of the shower. I don't know about you, but I have a big derriere, and it takes a lot of towel to dry it off before I can put my bike shorts on or my leggings on or anything like that. There's just a lot of, I'm going to have to put my hair up, or heaven forbid, I'm going to have to wash my hair. There's too many steps.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I feel like there's so many people across the entire world that relate to this theory, because it is so true. No matter what you're dealing with, what you're managing, we all have a certain amount of spoons each day, and it changes from day to day. And you can do things that give you back your spoons, but you also have a lot of things each day that take those spoons away, and when they're gone, they're gone. And that's what we're speaking of, and a lot of people relate to this. I still do, but I had a conversation and posted some on this term that I call it independence fatigue, because a lot in the disability community and in the ADHD community, I'm sure, it's like we try every day so hard to function at a certain level, to meet the expectations that we have for ourselves and from others, and all this stuff. And then we're trying so hard to be independent, to gain our self-autonomy, to fulfill all of our ambitions. But then we get it's almost like burnout or compassion fatigue. But it's like, I'm done being independent. It's okay. I'm sorry. Someone else is going to have to make that dinner. Someone else is going to have to do those dishes and do that laundry, because I'm done being independent and struggling and trying to see every little thing, or manage making sure I finish a task before I move to the next one, or all of these things. It's like, I used to call it independence fatigue, because it's not that I was compassion fatigued. It wasn't that I was necessarily burned out. It's just that I was so tired of trying to be independent and meet that expectation of what independence means to me on the daily basis. And it completely ties in to that spoon theory. So, what are some of the red flags that you think a lot of people should look for? Like, what are things that we should, because it takes some self awareness, I feel like, to realize I am overstimulated right now. That's why I'm so or I am extremely hangry right now and I need to stop what I'm doing and eat. That's my problem. I will forget. I will get so wrapped up in what I'm doing. No, I'll eat later. No, I need to stop right now and eat. But that takes a level of self-awareness. What are some of the red flags that we should really make sure we're being self-aware of, and signs that we're not?
So we must remember that it is your responsibility to take care of yourself. It is nobody else's responsibility to take care of you. Nobody else. It's not your husband. It's not your kids. It's not your parents. It's not anybody. Right. The same way my 12-year-old is responsible for taking care of himself. If he needs something, he's responsible to tell me, hey, Mom, I need something. It's not my responsibility to perform all this emotional labor and run around and spend my entire life going, are my kids okay? Is my husband okay? Are my dogs okay? Is everybody okay? Do they need anything? Can I help them? No, because nobody's doing that for me.
Right.
No one's doing that for me. And you also have to remember, when we talk about ultra independence is a trauma response and a lot of high achieving, ambitious women have this trauma response because our needs were not met consistently in childhood, right? So you overperform.
I have never heard that. So, okay, let me back up. So our need and striving for independence, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but in an extreme case, I guess, if you feel that extreme pressure to perform or to meet high expectations that might be out of your reach, is or could be a trauma response. Is that?
It's not a personality trait. It's a trauma response.
Interesting. Okay.
So if we think about
research or articles, where could I look for that?
Here's where it all lies. And this is why my name now is the Imposter Syndrome Coach. In the late 70s, two psychiatrists at the University of Georgia or Georgia State, I never remember, did a lot of research. They did years of research on high achieving women in academia. You're talking women with PhDs, you're talking professors, you're talking peer reviewed, high achieving, well educated women. And every single one of them reported feeling like a fraud, reported feeling like they only got to where they did because they must have been the best one out of a group of bad people. Like they could not contribute their success to themselves and to inherently deserving it.
Interesting.
So when you think about the fact that if you were raised as a man, you wouldn't be doubting yourself and your abilities and your deservingness of awards and success, that's when I took pause and I said, wait a minute. So imposter syndrome will continue to fulfill itself as a cycle, no matter how successful you get, no matter how old you get, no matter how smart you get, because it is it's rewarded, right? So you work really, 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 really hard on something. Right. You get some praise for it. Maybe you get a raise, whatever it is, anything like that. And instead of saying, thank you, I deserve this, your brain instantly goes, oh, it's only because I worked overtime. Oh, it's only because I did so much research. Oh, it's only because these judges must not know their head from their you-know-what. Because when in all actuality, you deserve it. So we have to, and so you get an award and you say, oh, it's because I did so good. Blah, blah, blah. It's because I tried so hard. So it's just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Unless you stop and you put a wedge in there and you say, no, I inherently deserve this.
Okay. Yeah. And that includes days off and me time.
Rest. And you're not resting if you're sitting on the couch watching a show telling yourself, I should be doing laundry, I should be vacuuming. If you're shooting yourself while you're trying to rest, you're not resting.
Amen. Yes. I truly feel like if people are constantly like shoulda, coulda, wouldas, you will drive yourself bonkers if you can't figure out how to turn that off. And then don't even get me started on the guilt that sometimes I have. Like I said, take ADHD, take blindness, take any condition, diagnoses, pick whatever you want out of the bag. There are times I feel like we can all relate to that feeling of guilt. Oh, I have to ask for help for this because of my diagnosis. And then you feel guilty for having to ask them because you can't do it yourself. And, especially as a mom, I struggled more with guilt as a mom than anything else. As far as like, well, my kids can't do this activity or sport or whatever because I can't drive. I don't have any transportation for them. Or, I can't make this dish because I don't have the right ingredients, and now I can't have no way of going to the store and getting them. And so that guilt that we feel because we can't do something due to our diagnosis, and sometimes there is no fix it, but learning to allow yourself to let that guilt go, or to accept it is what it is. What is a lesson you can take from it to either plan more in advance, ahead of time, or what are some strategies you can gain from that experience? But to let it go is so hard sometimes.
If we think about how to change the words that we use so that the guilt, shame, fear, and resentment can really leave, because those are 4 emotions that will stop any success in your life. Guilt, shame, fear, and resentment. We don't need them.
Amen.
We don't need them. They don't do anything.
Amen.
So instead of saying, oh, well, my kids were supposed to do soccer this year, but we couldn't work it out because I can't drive. Soccer wasn't in alignment with us this year.
So literally changing your language, changing the words that you use.
It wasn't meant to be this year. It wasn't in the cards for us.
Yeah.
And then I always take the perspective of it'll make itself clear eventually. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I think a lot of people don't realize that the language, the internal language that we use contributes and exacerbates a lot of these ongoing emotions that we struggle with. You can identify them all day long, but they'll continue until you change that internal dialogue. That is brilliant. All right. I'm going to look into the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Marcy Granger, HDI, 3 hands with mediums, intel raised in celebration. 3 blind abilities. Hello, it's Jeff Thompson from Blind Abilities.
Hello, Blind Abilities. Good to see you, Jeff.
Independently blind. Hey, stranger. Long time no see. This is crazy. I actually have an appointment today to be tested for ADHD.
Oh, wow.
Yay!
Can you hear that?
Yeah,
irony right here, my friend. Well, hopefully you're going to gain some great tips and value from today's discussion. I think ADHD presents itself. You tell me, Melanie, I think it's very, like all disabilities and conditions, it's kind of individualized, and it really can express itself in very unique ways from person to person. Like you said, I don't have OCD. I know a lot of ADHD people that do. I know a lot of blind people that have OCD as a result of their blindness. But some people do, some people don't. And it's like, I feel like, these secondary things that develop because of your ADHD kind of present this very individualized bag of things that you have to manage. I don't know. Does that make sense?
I think it really also depends on, since we know ADHD has affected us since we were born, I think that depending on how your parents treated you, the tools that you were given and whatnot, like the way I'm raising my kids know about masking. They're unmasking as much as they can so they don't come home from school and are completely wiped out, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to accommodate other people's emotions. We don't have to change parts of ourselves to make people feel more comfortable. Yes. That is a very important statement for anybody with a neurodivergent, neurospicy is what I like to call it, neurospicy brain. You don't have to change who you are to be accepted by others. People can get on this train or they can choose to go somewhere else. That's a them problem, not a you problem. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And you are going to, the more that you understand how your brain works, what your needs are, how to accommodate those needs, right? I need a lot of rest days. I need a lot of downtime where I just call it going horizontal. So my children and husband know, they'll literally look at me now, they're 14 and 12, and they'll look at me and they'll go, low energy day. Because I haven't gotten out of jammies. I'm getting my fourth, dopamine snack. And I'm like, yeah. I'm just going to go horizontal. I'm not sleeping. I'm not off limits. I don't need you to not talk to me. My body simply needs to be laying.
Yes. Horizontal time.
Horizontal time. So really understanding that you're allowed to accommodate whatever you think you have. You don't need a doctor to tell you have ADHD. If you're here in the States, it's very difficult to obtain an ADHD diagnosis. As a woman later in life, the medical industry itself is very highly regulated. They don't want to diagnose you ADHD. They'd rather give you a depression, anxiety diagnosis because they can make more money off those pills. Those medications aren't nearly as regulated as a stimulant medication. It goes really deep. It goes really deep. And once you understand that the reason so many women get diagnosed later in life is because your negative ADHD symptoms are heightened when your estrogen is low. So if you are a person with an estrogen cycle, or a person going through perimenopause or menopause, your negative ADHD symptoms are going to be unavoidable during parts of your energy cycle. I call my energy cycle because we know women function on a 28, 30-day cycle and men operate on a 24-hour cycle. That must be nice. So we can't play by those rules. You're not going to have the same level of energy the week of your period. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And then the week of ovulation, you're going to feel great. You're going to have a lot of energy. You're going to be able to exercise. You're not going to need a nap. You're going to look because of where we're at in our estrogen cycle. So the sooner you understand, okay, I am going to, for example, I'm very, very klutzy when my estrogen is low. I run into walls. I have a gnarly bruise on the back of my arm from a flat wall. It like bit me. Ran right into it. Nobody was here. It was the kind of pain that you like yell and you're like, damn, nobody was here to even know that this happened. Did this even happen? So you're going to see your negative ADHD symptoms heightened at the points in your life when your estrogen is low.
And there's a lot of things I think that trigger that stuff too. Your diet, all kinds of like what you even eat for breakfast.
Which all comes down to self-care.
Yes. And management of that. And so, diet was one thing that I did not realize growing up, how much it impacted. I didn't take it seriously enough, just like a lot of diabetics who end up losing their vision due to their diabetes, lack of management. Stargardts disease is what I have. And what's impacted by that is vitamin A. That's what's deposited on my retina, what kills the tissue, because I don't have a way to process and safely take vitamin A across my retina. And so I have to really make sure I don't take multivitamins. I can't have a high vitamin A rich diet. So blueberries and just leafy things that have high concentration of vitamin A, I avoid. But it took me a long time to take that seriously. And then when I started taking that seriously, I was like, okay, I started seeing some change, like some, I guess, stabilize. I hate that word stabilize, but
improvement.
Yeah. It's not like my vision was improving. It wasn't deteriorating as much and as fast as it was. But then I started looking at my ADHD and then thinking, what diet should I, try to achieve or what are my goals dietarily wise to address my ADHD? Because it's like we just don't realize that what we put in our body really does impact a lot of the bag of conditions, diagnoses, and the whole mix of it all and how we function day to day. Diet I think is another thing to really look out for too.
Absolutely. It's proven that people with ADHD benefit tremendously from protein in the morning. First thing in the morning, 25, 30 grams of protein. We're not talking 2 eggs. If you're veganish like me, I eat Cheez-Its because you can check the ingredients. There's dopamine in Cheez-Its. Cheez-Its are my go-to.
Once you start.
I'm telling you, but Cheez-Its are my go-to when I've been hyper-focused and I didn't eat. So then you go into the kitchen, you go, I'm so hungry, I feel sick, and I don't have the wherewithal, the time, or the energy to even create anything, handful of Cheez-Its, baby, or pumpkin seeds, walnuts, almonds, any sort of like nut or seed that's really power packed. You're going to need to be careful though with the vitamin A thing.
Yeah.
Just a handful, whatever I can do a handful of that's going to level me out so that I can now go make something or eat something that's relatively healthy for me, right? So a protein shake in the morning is a great way to go.
Interesting. That's a great
Great
tip.
way to go. And then there are those days where you're sensory seeking, you're dopamine seeking, whatever it is, you're going to be snacky. A lot of people with ADHD suffer from binge eating problems. Again, not because you don't have self-control, but literally because your body is trying to make dopamine, norepinephrine, and freaking the love one that I can never remember the name of. Your body's trying to get you that.
Yeah.
And the only way you can get it sometimes is the good snacks.
Yep.
And in all honesty, I work with a lot of people all over in different countries, and not one woman that I have met in the past 2 years is where she wants to be physically.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very, very true. So moving on, so we kind of already sort of segued into some helpful tips and management and things like that. Is there any other like just big tips that you would just highlight, recommend, or put people onto as far as managing, coping, life skills, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. I am a firm believer that instead of routines, you need systems. So I have low energy systems and I have high energy systems, right? For example, you're always going to start with self-care. What is going to make you feel your best based on your energy level, right? So self-care for me, I put makeup on 8 days a week usually. So for me to feel good when I go to sleep, I have to take my makeup off. If I wake up in the morning with makeup on, I feel grutty or I just don't feel good, right?
Yes.
I never feel good. So on a low energy day, all I got to do is a makeup wipe, maybe two. Let's make sure we get as much as we can, right? On a high energy day, it's going to be 5-step skincare. It's going to be lotions and potions and all that sort of stuff, right? But I know on a low energy day, I'm not going to lean over the sink, wash my face, get the water that runs down the arms. Sensory nightmare. I'm not going to have the energy to do that. So instead of feeling guilty about not doing the 5-step skincare, being in my late 30s, and I should be putting the hyaluronic acid on, but whatever, I now feel good because I took the makeup off.
Yeah.
Because I did what I needed to do. So it's going to be the same in business. So I have high energy content creation. If you go follow me on TikTok, you'll see I have videos where I'm talking to the camera for 2 minutes. I'm telling you everything that I need, that I can tell you. I've done all this research. I'm helping you as much as possible. Then I have low energy content where I'm just sitting there staring at the screen. Sometimes I'm just eating. People, listen, whatever you guys want, whatever makes you happy. If you want to watch Mama eat, Mama will eat. That is fine. And I just put some text on screen that's going to provide you some value in your life, right? Not everything is going to, you can't hold yourself to that ADHD. We all know, we've all been there, where you have that late night and you go, okay, cool. Tomorrow, I'm going to fix my life. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go for a 2-mile run and I'm going to have my protein shake and I'm going to do it. That's not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. And then you feel guilty when you have that expectation and you don't meet it, and it's like it ends up being a vicious cycle when you don't, start with the correct internal, like we were talking earlier, the correct internal dialogue, and then developing your systems, and then, but not holding yourself so rigid that you use it as fuel to beat yourself up,
Absolutely. Now I have a lot of people say, well, how do you know if it's a high energy day or a low energy day? And I say, well, I take my vitamins. I have a range of supplements that I take because it's been a hyper focus of mine for a while as a person who does not medicate for my ADHD, because the side effects when I was taking it were just outweighing the benefits, right? So I went more of a lifestyle approach. So there are supplements. When I take my vitamins, and I have to talk myself into them. I really do have to. So recently what I've been doing is I say, all right, just take these 3 because these 3 are the most important and you're going to feel the best if you take these 3. And then, I swallow those and I go, girl, you're already here. let's just open up these 3. Let's take these ones. Why not? We're already here. So I just talk myself into it, right? So then I'm just going to take all of them. I do the same thing for teeth brushing. If you have an issue with teeth brushing, you're not alone. I hate brushing my teeth. It's gross. I love the feeling after. But during, I absolutely can't stand. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll be like, all right, let's not even put the toothpaste on. Let's just, right? Let's just get the fuzzies off. And I'm like, well, it's already wet. We're already here. We're already, let's just put a little toothpaste on. I'll just talk myself into it, right?
Yeah.
And then when I take all my vitamins on a low energy day and they don't give me a boost and I didn't get energy from that second Diet Dr. Pepper, cool. This is a low energy day. We're going to entertain our needs. We're going to accommodate our needs. We're not going to talk to a lot of people. We're not going to try and perform a whole bunch of stuff. We're simply going to rest and recharge.
Yeah. Yep.
I call it really just honor your energy.
I think that's awesome. I think that is a brilliant message. And I mean, and like I said, this it's so funny. A lot of people don't realize that we're talking about ADHD, but this is so true across the spectrum of disability life and in dealing and managing with conditions and chronic illness or whatever you're pulling out of the bag. I feel like so much of this is universal, but it's things that I feel like enough people just don't attend to themselves and their needs enough to have this level of permission and self-awareness and allowance and self-forgiveness and self-care and just attending to these things. A lot of people, I really feel like they just push themselves, and it's like all or nothing. Then they'll just have a day where I'm not, they just completely fall off the wagon, you know what I mean? And then start extremely bad, unhealthy habits, trying to overcompensate, if you will. You know what I mean? So I do medicate for ADHD. I am on Adderall, and you're right. It is a very difficult process to maintain and to get here, but I found that I had to go that route because I am now approaching 40. And like you said earlier, age and what's going on with your body and your cycles and your energies and where you're at in life, the stresses, whatever the case may be, any kind of changes, all of that impacted my ADHD. And for me, it was parenthood, and it was also me approaching 40. And I am pretty much here now, knocking on that door in a couple months. And I had to just, I knew I had reached that point where I was not, my relationships were not going to last if I did not seek some sort of medication to help. And then I became too reliant on it. And that's when I gained the self-awareness that medication does not fix it. It is not a cure. It is a management tool, but that is not the only management tool. There are so many other things. So other than diet and having self-care and recognizing low energy days, high energy days, anything else? Is there another tip you want to throw out there?
You really want to think about, okay, so the ADHD brain is going to be motivated by one of the 4 key motivators. So the first one is interest, passion, really, really liking something, right? So think about, we'll talk about in terms of like your high school term paper, right? None of us did that in the 9 weeks that we had to do it. We did that in the 48 hours before it was due. And not any person with a neurodivergent brain has ever told me anything different. So let's examine why that happens. It's because there's only 4 key motivators to get you to start or finish a task. So passion or interest, if you don't care what you're writing about, you don't want to do it. Novelty, if it's not new and shiny, well, I'm not going to do it. If there's no competition, then if you're not going to beat somebody to it, I'm not going to do it. And then it comes to the last key motivator, which is pressure, time. It's got to get done.
Yes.
So what happens is we feel bad because we're not a neurotypical person that's just going to say, okay, well, this has to get done, so let's go do it. Like paying bills. You don't pay the bill till the day it's due because don't take my money unless you absolutely need it, right?
Yes.
Cool, because your brain's not going to say, pick up the phone, call, pay the bill, until you have to, right? Because it's not fun. It's not shiny. It's not competitive. It's you guys going to wait till the last minute. So neurotypical people can't do that. Neurotypical people don't have the get up and go in them to do something at the last minute. So then they get jealous, angry, and try and make us feel bad about how we do it. Well, why couldn't you just do it? You had 9 weeks. Why couldn't you do it? Because it wasn't important then. I didn't get the go-go juice in my brain until right now. So now I'm going to get it done. Now I'm still going to get an A. You spent 9 weeks trying to do this. I spent 9 hours, and I did better than you.
Yeah. And in a way, it's kind of like a superpower when we get that hyper focus, like we just boom, boom, boom. It's amazing what we can get done when we get that go-go juice and we're like on it. But sometimes, it's like we're time blind too. We're like, oh, that's not due right now. That's due in the future. And then you but because it's not due right now, you file that away in the future folder. And then next thing you know, that future folder's smacking you in the face. And you're like, well, whatever happened all that time? It was not in my now. And that's a lot of the way I operate a lot like that as well. Like it's like I have to have, I will wake up in the morning and I'll look at the chores. I'll look at what do I need to do for my kids, family, manage the family, do it for Seeing Blind, all this stuff. And I'll create my to-do list. And if it's something that's not on the today, now, I have to prioritize this now, it's in the future folder and I don't think about it. I am really, that's one of the reasons why I am a terrible vacation planner, because I cannot think that in the future. I'm really bad at anticipating and creating like plans for this and plans for that, because I'm like, if it's, I don't know, I feel like I'm either really, really hyper focused on it or I'm not. And vacations are usually so far off in the future that I'm like, I'll think about that when I'm on vacation, and next thing you know, all the tickets are sold out and there's nothing to do. So that's one of my issues.
I also think too with vacations, we just got done with a really nice one in Hiawassee, Georgia, in the mountains. And I'm a Florida girl. I'm used to the beaches. We were 2,000 feet above sea level. My ears pop on a bridge here in Jacksonville, Florida, just being that high over the ocean. And we were in the mountains. And, my husband and I really put a lot of work into planning it and whatnot, because I don't want to plan it because then I'm already experiencing the remorse of it's over, right? Like I'm going to look so forward to this week away. It's going to be so fun. And already just talking about it, I'm like, but it's over. It's already over. It's just a memory now. Like I'm not even there anymore. So there is that little element too of like, we're always so many steps ahead of the people around us. We've already experienced what we perceive is going to happen, whether that does actually happen or not, that it's almost like it's happened and it's already gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like too, and just to kind of circle around to other diagnoses and stuff, then you get into the whole fear factor as well. And then using that too, as sort of a way of procrastinating, if you will, or filing it away. Like, I've never gone down this street, or I've never been in that part of the neighborhood with my white cane. So I'll tackle that next week, because, and you don't want to recognize that it's fear or anxiety or whatever the case may be, instead of letting your desire become bigger than the fear to just do it, just to explore safely and cover your bridges, of course, safety wise, but like getting out there and experiencing and learning and growing. I feel like a lot of the times we'll hold ourselves back because of the fear and the anxiety, or just filing it away for the future. Oh, I'll do that another day. I've been wanting to learn Braille, and it's been something on my to-do list for a year now. And it's free. There's nothing stopping me, but I keep filing it away in my future. It's like my bucket list of things I keep telling myself I'm going to do, but haven't done it yet. And then I end up beating myself up over, like, still have not signed up for that silly online class yet. And I don't know. I need to do it. I need to prioritize it.
Well, let's think about it like this. This will really help you reframe that. Okay.
Okay.
Everything happens when it's supposed to. For example, I did not ever watch Downton Abbey until this past year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tried numerous times. They're like, everybody raves about the show. It's got all the awards. I'm going to try and watch Downton Abbey. And it never worked. This show's, what, 10-something years old, right?
I haven't seen it yet either. It's on my to-do list too.
When I did finally get called to watch it, it spoke to me and moved me in such deep ways. If you follow me on TikTok, you know that I'm always talking about spirit guides and how they really can help you in your life. And I'm always getting information from my spirit guides. It's like my psychic superpower. It's very fun. But I watched it at a point in my life where I needed it because it actually became part of my practice and part of how I can explain your relationship with your spirit guides and the role that your spirit team and you have together. So when you learn Braille, it's going to make sense, and it's going to be at the time that you're supposed to learn Braille. It's simply not supposed to happen right now. It's not going to benefit you right now. When it's going to benefit you is when you're going to feel called to do it.
Very, very healthy, very good way of looking at it. That is a much better way of looking at it. I feel like, isn't it funny? I feel like a lot of things in life happen that way too, and we don't pause and recognize that. Do you know what I mean? Like, the whole serendipitous moments in life, that it's like everything just seems to come together in this beautiful meant to be way.
Absolutely.
And let's see. It looks like a lot of people are, a lot of people for the live streams. As I'm just now kind of with school starting back, I'm just now getting into a kind of somewhat consistent schedule like I did last year, where I'm trying to go live during lunchtime, Tuesdays and or Thursdays. And so a lot of people are just now kind of getting into that swing and schedule again. But I looked in here, about 8 or 9 people in here earlier listening. And but not a whole lot of chat activity. I think a lot of people are listening kind of podcast style, which is cool. That's pretty much the way we do it in the blind community. We love to listen and quietly observe. So I want to thank you so much. And I have learned so much from this. It is just a very powerful conversation, I think, that we've had. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the like button if so. Before I turn it over to you, Melanie, for last thoughts and last words, remember, check out the description box, my friends. All of her socials are down there. You can find her website, her TikTok and Instagram. She is absolutely, and I love your TikTok content. I am not as big of a connoisseur on Instagram, but TikTok is where it's at, and I absolutely love watching your TikToks. They're so informative, so awesome, and your lives are hilarious and fun, and just really get me in the perfect mindset for the day. I always appreciate that. So make sure you check out the description box. All of her details are there so that you can follow her. Melanie, do you have any other final words or things you want to share?
I want to thank you so much for having me on. I will have to reciprocate and have you go live with me on TikTok very soon.
Absolutely.
And really, your negative ADHD symptoms, your neurodivergent needs, are all going to improve when you're taking care of yourself and you're incorporating things into your life that you really like to do, right? We're going to build the dopamine up by doing things that we enjoy, whether that's underwater basket weaving or, putting makeup on every single day. If you're doing things in your life that you actually enjoy, you're going to notice a remarkable change in your negative symptoms, right? And pursue whatever accommodations feel good to you, right? You got to figure out if you have high sensory needs. You got to figure out, there's some of us that can't be on time and some of us that can't help but running into walls. But you got to figure out where you need the most help. Start accommodating there and taking care of yourself, because remind yourself, nobody else is going to take care of you but you.
That's right. Very true.
And don't spend so much time trying to take care of everybody else in your life, because it's going to lead to resentment, because nobody's going to think that the person who helps everybody all the time needs any help themselves.
That's right.
So help yourself, take care of yourself. If you have anything left over and somebody needs your help and requests it, then you can help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But take care of you first.
Amen. Amen. All right, my friends. Thank you, Blind Abilities. I'm so glad you enjoyed this show. I was catching up on the chat. Thank you all so much for joining us. Remember, you can always catch the replays on my YouTube channel anytime you can't tune in live. And comment below any questions that you have. If there's any question that I need to forward on to Melanie, I will certainly do so. And I would love to have you on again in the future. This was absolutely fun and engaging, and it's just, I really, really appreciate your time. So that's it, my friends. Make sure you go and follow Melanie on all of her socials in the description box. And I look forward to meeting with you guys again next week. Bye, guys. Blessings to you and
Bye.
yours. All right. Let's see, making sure it ended.